Hello, my name is Josh Floyd. I'm a board certified family law attorney here at Jimenez Floyd Family Law Firm.
My name is Christina Jimenez, and I'm also board certified in family law. And I think we need to start off this little section talking about what board certification means.
It means it's a nightmare to obtain.
It is a nightmare to obtain, but it also means that we are classified as being in the top 1% of attorneys that practice family law in the state of Texas. To get your board certification, like Floyd stated, it's a nightmare. How do you do it?
So first you have to go through this application process, which is a nightmare in and of itself. And then you send it off and they review it and they determine whether you are worthy, qualified to even sit for the test. Right. And then once they say, yes, you're qualified to sit for the test, if you've shown the requisite amount of experience, that you've handled complex litigation and that you know what the heck you're doing in a courtroom uh, with regard to family law, then you have to sit for this test. And the test is,
You also have to get letters of recommendations
oh,
from judges and
you
lawyers
do have to do
too.
that.
hmm
Yes. Yeah. It's
And
very
then
extensive.
you go to the test.
Then you go to the test, which is worse than the application process. Um, it's, yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a very, very difficult test and really tests you on the really intricacies, the ins and outs of family law, property, child custody stuff. And so you really have to know what you're doing to be board certified.
Well, and it's my understanding that obviously very few attorneys qualify to take the test, but only about 20% of the attorneys who qualify to take the test actually pass the test. And last I checked, I think it was a couple of years ago, there was like 750 attorneys that were board certified in family law. And so we do not claim to be perfect. We do not claim to never make mistakes because we absolutely do. But what being board certified means, and I would recommend, not just us, but any attorney that's board certified in any area of practice, it just means that you have gone an extra step to be able to attain the requisite experience and knowledge to be able to state that you can specialize in this particular area of practice. And so I would always recommend if, in any area of issues that you're dealing with, if you have the ability to hire a board certified attorney, that you do that.
And one of the things about being board certified in family law, one of those areas is divorce, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about divorces.
Oh, divorces. So number one, if you're watching this video and you're going through this process, I want to say that I'm sorry that you're having to deal with it because even though you may think that it's in your best interest for you to go through the process,
Sometimes it is.
sometimes it is, but it's still never a fun process. It's very stressful, very draining, and it will try you to your core. And so but sometimes it is a necessity. And when it is a necessity, I think that it's important that you hire attorneys that can get you through that process smoothly, quickly, and really advocating for your best interest. So divorces cover if you have children. It's typically divided into two parts. You have what we call a suit affecting parent-child relationship, and then you have the property division. And so, Floyd, what is the suit affecting parent-child
So the
relationship?
suit affecting is, all the child custody issues, right? So, child support, possession, visitation, where the child's going to live, where they're going to go to school, who has the right to do what, right? All the child custody issues is all encompassed inside the suit affecting parent-child relationship portion of the divorce. And then we have that, and then we deal with the property stuff, right? So you can talk about the property stuff.
Yeah, so property stuff, obviously, when you get a divorce, any property that was acquired during the marriage, anything that was gifted to you during the marriage is what we call separate property. But if it's acquired during the marriage, then it is going to be community property and it would be subject to division. Okay. And so the courts have to kind of go through a process of figuring out what is community and what's separate, okay, and whatever the community property is, how are we going to divvy this up, okay? And if you have homes, the court can order that your home be sold. If you have retirement accounts, the court can order a certain division of those retirement accounts. Cash value insurance policies, If there's complex reimbursement claims because your husband owned a home before you guys got married, but y'all paid it off during the 20 years you guys were married, you have rights to that property, right? If there's waste claims because your husband or your wife had a boyfriend and she went and she spent all the money on her boyfriend, all of these things can be presented to the judge, and there's adequate remedies in law for you to be able to recover some of those funds. But what I will say is oftentimes attorneys will miss those complex issues if this isn't their primary area of practice, because they're, like you said, they're nuanced, and sometimes attorneys just don't think to look for those things. So,
And this is just a general overview, right? A lot of the issues that she discussed are very complex when you get into characterization of separate and community property and waste claims, reimbursement claims, and how all that works. We have longer videos on each of those things, so I'd encourage you to watch those if it applies to you and you want to learn more about it. But this is just a kind of a general overview. But another thing that we deal with is spousal support also, right? Again, there's lots of rules and stuff like that when it applies, but generally speaking, if you've been married for 10 years, you can get spousal support. You can also get temporary spousal support whether or not you've been married for 10 years. Um, so there's those issues that we also deal with in all of our divorce proceedings when it's required, I guess.
So I often get asked the question, do I need to hire an attorney for a divorce? And
You've
sometimes
never said no, have you?
I said no. I'm like, maybe, but no, I haven't. And the reason is because you guys don't know what you don't know, right? And I will say that there are forms out there that people will sometimes use in order to try to bypass attorneys and bypass the litigation process. I will say that I have had a number of cases where we had to go in and fix a whole lot of things because those forms were used. Um, and what I will say is again, you don't know what you don't know. And so it is important that you have an attorney that is advising you and telling you, here are your rights. And if you choose to waive those rights because you want to bypass, litigation, fine, then that's obviously your right. But if you don't have somebody that's telling you what you're entitled to, you can miss out on a lot of things. And sometimes it's time with your children. Sometimes it's decision making over your children. Sometimes it's now your children are going to be moving to New York City because you didn't know that you were entitled to geographic restriction. Sometimes you are missing out on certain property because you did a global waiver of property that could amount to hundreds and thousands of dollars. And so when you're going through a divorce, it is just always in your best interest to have an attorney by your side to tell you, hey, let's get through this. Let's make sure we get it done right.
Yeah, the forms were put out to help people, and I think it's in very, very small, limited circumstances is it helpful. I think it's more harmful because you could be dividing separate property, stuff that would already be yours.
Mm-hmm.
Child support, retroactive child support. You could be missing out on a whole lot of stuff that you don't even know you're missing out on unless you consult with an attorney that really handles this type of law and knows what they're doing.
Right. So if you're going through this process, or if you find yourself contemplating this process, my recommendation to you would be to find a good attorney in the area that you're going to have to file your divorce, in the county in which you're going to file, because they're going to be more familiar with the judge in that particular jurisdiction and kind of know, how they typically rule, which is important to know. And then you obviously tell them your information and then follow their advice, and hopefully they can help you get through this process smoothly.
Right. We have offices in Flower Mound, Louisville, Bedford, Dallas, Midland, and Odessa. So if you're in that area, we can help you out.